Hang on just a second, guys. Like I said, I got y'all muted. And everyone's hearing me now, so oops. I guess I can go ahead and unmute everything. So we're getting up and running here. So
Yay.
Yay!
I have a truly terrible hat.
That's awesome.
I say it's truly terrible, but it looks fine to me.
Can anybody see?
So
I give my hat to you, but I haven't got a hat. Boom, 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 boom.
all right, I think we got everyone involved now. I think.
Hello?
There we go.
Hi, Jason.
Hi!
Hello.
Hello.
How you been?
Hanging in there. How
I
about you?
can't hear squat.
Doing good.
Can anybody hear
Oh, you know
me?
what? Let me get rid of the fan.
Is John talking?
I'm not sure I can hear
I
John.
don't know.
I don't know if he's talking.
Can anybody hear me?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
John, are you there?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
John!
Yes.
Hey!
Yay! John.
Yay.
Okay. Checking here. Abigail, can you hear us? I think she already said no.
Ah, there we go.
Oh, I can hear you.
Yep. Okay, there we go.
Okay, Evan, you there?
Yes.
Okay, Gigi. All right,
Oh my
Ian.
god.
Here.
All right, Jason.
I'm here.
John. Hello, John. Oh, did we lose John?
John, no.
John, come back!
Oh my god, your water bottle is so big.
Leave me alone.
We lost John.
You know how much time
Come
was
back,
spent in front of the
John.
computer drawing?
Well, we got Reggie. I can see that.
I'm looking at this on Twitch. It looks like the Brady Bunch here.
And Jason's
story.
right in the middle of it
A
all.
bunch of Sonic nerds.
I don't know if I can do this.
We're busy making an IDW
Yeah.
comic.
I don't. Is this what I want to do with my life? Yes.
That's what you signed up for.
Oh, we lost John.
Okay, is everybody ready?
Waiting
hang
on John.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
wait,
John is not in here.
John just.
Yeah, he dropped.
John
Uh-oh.
died! I hope it's like not an internet issue or something.
I'm trying to call him back in.
I like how the edges of Sonic's nose are kind of blurry in those Sonic.
I have the auto blur effect on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think we lost John for the moment. We're going to see if he'll come back, but I think we can go ahead and get this panel started until he can resolve his issues.
Okay. Thanks everyone for coming. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with us this year. It's our first year with almost the entire cast. We've had Evan Stanley with us for, I think, 7 years now, or
Since the
6 or 7.
beginning, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
from the very first
beginning.
one. And awesome to have you. I've actually, well, can't see it because it's blurred, but on this side of my wall, I got 2 posters with Evan Stanley art. One's Sonic Boom, and one's with Tangle and Sonic on it. Okay, so while we go ahead, please introduce yourselves and what you guys do on the comic.
We'll start with Abigail.
Oh God.
It's because your name starts with an A.
Ah! I've been betrayed by alphabetical order. Hello. My name is Abigail, or folks call me Abby. I am a cover artist for IDW Sonic.
All right, Evan.
Okay, I'm Evan Stanley. I am a penciler, cover artist, and writer for IDW Sonic.
All right, Gigi.
What up, fellas? It's me. So I work on. I am a cover artist, and I'm also a writer as well.
All right, Ian.
I'm Ian Flynn. I have written a whole lot of Sonic.
Yeah.
Really?
Wait a minute, you right?
Scribble and it's interpreted. Mostly I torture artists with lots and lots of crowd scenes. Because how hard can it be, really?
You're just saying that
Why do
because
you hate
he's not
us?
here.
All right, Reggie, your turn.
Hi, I'm Reggie Graham. I do mostly colors. I did some inks, and there's some more coming soon with IDW Comics.
Oh man,
Ooh.
so
All
much
right,
so much wonderful talent out there. And one of the things I've had the pleasure to witness is to watch all you guys like come into this franchise from being fans yourselves. Because I remember a lot of you, we were old school friends. John was here. John and I go way back to the days of Sonic HQ and all that jazz.
Dubs. Yep.
Yeah.
Remember those.
So it's a pleasure to be able to see Sonic fans just taking over the franchise, so to speak. So, Jason, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
All right, and that's true. Between IDW, we got Sonic Mania and several other things where the fans. I think it's the one property that I can think of, the biggest IP where the fans are pretty much taking over on it. With the recently forced delay of the Sonic books, has the pandemic affected your plans greatly, or not too bad?
Not really.
No, well, we're
I-
back. There's a new issue
Yeah.
this Wednesday.
Yeah. And we weren't producing at full speed because of the distribution hold, but we never stopped production entirely. People were still working on things.
Cool. Okay, so with issue 33, Ian will be passing the writing torch over to Evan Stanley for a bit while he's penning the Sonic miniseries Bad Guys. Can you give us a little preview of what you two have planned?
What can we say?
Well, with Bad Guys, it's a bit of a spoiler, but it involves villainous characters.
Oh, man.
It's going to be 4 issues, so it's a miniseries. And again, don't want to spoil too much, but it will focus on some bad guys.
Whoa.
And the issue 33 is kicking off a 4-issue arc called Child Races and Badnik Bases, which is about Rouge and Amy and Cream going on sort of a little heist-style adventure to try to find things they need to repair Omega after many battles that you've seen. He got a little bit carried away. Yeah,
I love that Omega still wants to fight, even though he's all that's left of him is ahead right now.
Always.
Oh, I think we got John back now.
Oh, yes.
Yay!
Can y'all hear
Johnny,
me?
you here?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I didn't account for the fact that it's like 93 billion degrees in Alabama.
I hear you there, buddy.
Hey, there you are.
Yes.
Yay. Ooh, you're outside, aren't you, dude? Or it just looks
Yeah.
like you're outside.
Had to sit outside.
Perfect.
Okay, well, perfect, because I have a question up for you next. Let's see. John Gray, whom I consider the George Perez of the Sonic comics due to your love of just drawing so many characters all at once. What outside of the Sonic community, what are you currently working on?
Right now, I'm working on the Disney Masters series for Fantagraphics, where I'm doing localization and translation work. I've been doing that, gosh, since I don't know how long. And thanks to the quarantine, I hadn't been doing it in a little bit, but I'm just starting to get back to work right now on a Donald Duck book.
Cool. All right, very cool. Yeah, so with that, are you still keeping in all your nice little puns there, here and there?
Yep, exactly.
I love the way you write on those. Abigail, I got to meet you at San Diego Comic-Con last year when you were just starting on covers for Tangle and Whisper. This question goes to pretty much everyone here, but how does it feel to go from a fan to a professional?
Unreal. I know I wouldn't believe it until I was actually holding the first book in my hand. Because I was just like, no, maybe it's just an elaborate prank. But yeah, it's wild to, think I was reading those same comics, like the Archie comics as a kid, and thinking like, this is what I want to do when I grow up. And now I'm grown up and doing it.
Okay, this is for Reggie, Gigi, and Abigail. I guess even in John too. You're all cover artists. What's it like seeing your work on the front cover of a comic book for people to buy? Like going into the store and you see it right on the shelf.
It's still not real.
I've been doing this for years, and it's still kind of surreal whenever I get a cover in.
Yeah, I remember San Diego Comic-Con last year. You had a whole banner with all the characters that you drew on it. I was like, that's just amazing.
I don't feel like I have, like, the English language cannot be enough to describe the feelings that I get when I see something like that. Like, it leaves me completely speechless, and all I can express is inhuman sounds as I, like, I mean that, like, I know it's, like, kind of jokey, but I do truly mean that. Like, it is very much an unreal experience, and I really just am thankful for even the opportunity.
Yeah, covers are like sorry.
You can go ahead.
Okay. Covers are also like, they're the first impression of the book. So it's really nerve-wracking in a way. Like, you are there to make that first impression to the people picking it up off the shelf. So you really want to kind of put your best foot forward because you're here for the team. Yep.
Yeah,
I can understand. I mean, the closest thing I got was a comic strip from the letters panel of one of the old Archie comics. I wrote it, somebody else drew it, and that got in. And I was just showing it off to everybody. So I can only imagine how it feels for you guys to get a whole cover like that. So who is your favorite character to work on and why?
Bean. I miss Bean terribly.
Dr. Eggman. He's so cathartic to write. You get just to be awful, and people love it. So it validates the awfulness.
true.
It always changes for me. Like, I'm always enamored with whatever character I'm working with at the time, and it's like, oh yes, this is my favorite. This is the only character I want to draw and write forever. And then I get to the next story, and it's like, oh wait, this is my favorite now.
Yeah, I think I really like writing like Silver and Blaze for no reason whatsoever.
Don't say that when I just took a big swig of tea.
I think Silver's a very underrated character.
It really is.
I actually, you're mentioning that you miss Bean. So I do have a question for Ian. I know the book's going off of Sonic Forces and Onward, but do you think there'll be a time when we'll see other Sega characters that have been missing for a while, like Mighty and Ray and Bean Bark back in the book?
Those are all classic characters now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
IDW Sonic is exclusively modern era Sonic, so anything that is now under the classic umbrella is currently off limits to us. Now, if there were sufficient fan demand to get a classic book going, that might work.
I could totally see that working.
That's not just me being facetious. It's fan demand that got us the Tangle and Whisper mini. And that sold like crazy. And that's why we're getting Bad Guys. So fans have a huge impact on the book.
So demand a solo Silver book, please.
I I've been trying to push a return for Sonic Universe for the longest time, but that can only happen with like fan demand and stuff like that.
Yeah, I gotta admit,
you
I
don't
do
love
miss
that.
those 4-issue arcs.
Well,
Greatly.
I guess I know what I'm going to be petitioning for, and everyone in this room is going like, no, don't do it.
So, the reason why it's called Sonic Revolution is because we're trying to start a revolution.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was looking at the Q&A here, so this would probably explain something that Rich Monk is asking here, and that's why the freedom fighters from like the Sad M books wouldn't be coming back on this. That'd be pretty much the same reason?
Yeah, it's kind of up to Sega whether or not they show up. And because they had such a long life in the Archie books, they're more synonymous with that than the cartoon show. And I don't think they want to draw parallels between the books. I bring it up like every 6 months or so saying, so has this progressed anywhere? Could we maybe talk about it? And it's like, no, Ian, stop it. And it's like, fine, fine. But I'll be back and in greater numbers. And then I get odd looks and, it's another 6 months and yada, yada, yada.
A lot of folks. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
A lot of folks tend to forget that on the old books, we weren't even allowed to use like Cream or Omega for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
Like well after their actual debut. So, I mean, I'm not trying to put words in anybody's mouth. Things can change, but for right now, I guess it's just kind of like whatever Sega wants. So,
right. What's yes today could be no tomorrow, and vice versa.
It's also that the IDW book, as a story, deserves a chance to come into its own identity as a part of the Sonic franchise, and not just be Archie Sonic 2. We got so much of that. We don't need to rehash that. We can do something fresh. And if the Archie characters ever come back, it'll be an opportunity to tell stories with them in a new context.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Well, one more question I have before I bring it over to Discord. Now I know there's back in the old days when a comic character created like Tangle or Whisper, that would become the property of Sega, and I don't know if that's 100% true or IDW has a stake in those characters. The reason saying that is I would absolutely love to see like Tangle in a Sega video game in the future. Now, would there be any possibility of that, or do you think not really?
The IDW book is very similar and yet also wildly different than the way the Archie book was done. One of the big differences is Sega is much more hands-on in the development of new characters. Like back in the Archie days, we would put together a new character in-house and put it in the book. And that was it. With everything with IDW Sonic, everything has gone by Sega. Evan, I'm sure you could tell plenty of stories of how many times Whisper went back and forth in development.
Oh, yeah.
But so in that regard, Sega is more aware of these characters. Heck, they designed the logo for the Tangle and Whisper miniseries. That was not an IDW logo. That was a Sega logo. The fact that they got any merchandise, like the little Tangle and Whisper pins, is bigger steps than any other character or satellite material has ever received.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Sally's kind of the exception, especially her prominence in Sega of Australia. But that was a very different era with a different division of East and West and marketing teams. So she's kind of the exception that proves the rule. To cut this short, sorry, I'm rambling. I wouldn't say it's impossible, and they are listening. So if you want to see Tangle, Whisper, Starline, Rough Tumble, Mimic, even anybody, ask for it. I mean, yeah, politely, obviously.
Politely.
Don't
Keyword there.
Fan demand and feedback is like super important. and you can give it to IDW, but you also have to give it to Sega too, because Sega, it's their license. And Ian's right; they are really, really more hands-on for the book in terms of character design, in terms of really everything, than they ever were with Archie, really.
Yeah, everything we do has to pass through both Sega of America and Sega of Japan. So there's like a whole relay going.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that have their hands on this book.
I will say it is super fun to get to work with the character design and art team at Sonic Team on the character designs. That is such a cool thing to get to do. And I think that everybody who's been doing design work has been probably learning a lot from them. I know that's the case for me.
Yeah, it's the same with me. Like even doing covers, I was kind of notorious for breaking the system when I did that Sonic 27 cover, because I put Dreamcast controllers on it, and we discovered, normally Sega Japan and Sega America looks at it, but now the people who do trademarking have to look at it because they have to make sure that we're able to do this, that, and the other. And that's why if you look real carefully at that cover, there's not a Dreamcast swirl on any of the controllers. It's like a little sun symbol that I put on just to kind of mimic that. So you have to, everything goes through channels, basically.
Yeah, but one thing I love about Sega is they do listen to their fans very closely compared to other companies. I mean, that's how we ended up with Sonic Mania, and like I say, the fans pretty much in charge of the comic now, so that's a great thing. I'm going to go ahead and bring it over to the Discord channel here and get some questions from the audience.
Do you mind if I go ahead and ask a question while you're looking at Discord? Because I don't normally butt into these panels, but I actually do have a question. When you're trying to get approval from Sega, and I know you said it has to go through like both Sega of America and Sega Japan, do you find that there is one side that's a little more difficult to get approval from than the other? Like maybe Sega of America says that something is okay, but when it goes through Sega of Japan, they're like, no, that's not okay.
All of
We're
our
not gonna rat out our
expressions.
bosses. Can't do that.
I plead the fifth.
Okay, that's you know what? That's fair. I'm not here to try to get you charged. That was just simple curiosity, because that was something I've always wondered about. But if y'all can't answer that,
English.
if y'all can't actually answer that, I apologize. I apologize right now, because
I'd say language barriers are more the issue than like any particular branch, but maybe that's just me.
Gotcha.
Okay, Sega Star 7 asks, do you have any advice for consistency in drawing the characters' hands and anatomy?
Hands. Oh.
Hands. So a good way to think of the hands is you start with the palm shape, which is like a flat, kind of like a rectangular prism, but it's a little bit curved. So it's like, because you can see that on my hand, like my palm at rest has a little bit of a curve to it. So you start with that shape, and then you add a big circle that makes up this muscle group of the thumb, and that's your palm. And then for the fingers on a Sonic character, you don't have to worry very much about the individual joints in most cases. So start with just line gestures, just simple focus on the motion and making sure the pose works as a whole, so you can get the whole shape of the lines, and then you build out over them with kind of like sausage shapes. And you can do that by actually drawing spirals that overlap on each other to get the sense of a form that is like turned towards the camera or whatever you need. That's kind of like the fundamentals of how to think about approaching a hand.
And to add on to that too, I think that if you are especially trying to learn how to draw Sonic on model consistently, model sheets are your friend. They are such your friend. And honestly, it's really good practice to do like character turnarounds too. Like learning how the characters are in a full, almost like 3D turn. It's what helps me a lot, at least.
I think a lot of us newbies have had to do that too. I think just for like getting to approvals to work on the book in the first place, just to show we have a solid understanding of the characters.
Also, like if you're trying to get a certain pose for something, just like go take a picture of yourself with your phone in the bathroom mirror and dump that on your computer and draw over it.
One very specific thing is that the models for Sonic characters tend to change in tiny, tiny increments between games. It's kind of infuriating to have to learn. You notice how everybody's laughing. It's always infuriating because Sonic's spine will change 1/113th of an inch between a game.
And that matters.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's why it's really so important to stick to the model sheets and learn the models, know how the models are, and then be prepared to look at the new models when a new game comes out, just to make sure that, like, think about how much Sonic has shifted from being this big tall boy to being this big short chubby thing. And you kind of have to just be aware of that. And stick to, going off of what Evan said earlier, you have to also stick to lines of motion, stick to gestures. You have to remember that the characters at the end of the day are rubber hose characters. Their anatomy is going to be funny cartoon animals, not X-Men. So you have to kind of be aware of what it is that you're drawing, how they're depicted, that sort of thing. Stay loose, of course, but stay on model.
Stay patient with yourself. Drawing takes time.
I think that's part of how it's part of how the movie Sonic, the original design, failed, is they were giving him anatomy as far as elbows and knees and all this, everything, where it kind of got lost. His cartoony look kind of got lost in all that.
Sonic had a movie?
I don't know, it was this weird little thing they aired way back when we were allowed to go to movie theaters. I don't know.
Oh, the olden times.
Back in the day.
Yeah, that was when everything was in black and white.
In the before times.
Shroke has a question for Evan. Your colors and rendering are off the charts godlike. What is your secret?
I started as a photorealistic scientific illustrator, and I went to school and did a lot of acrylic still life studies. A lot of my rendering is just nose to the grindstone, do the really boring paintings of fruit and drapery and spheres until it finally clicks. That's where that comes from for my color work. I've historically had a really hard time picking like color palettes that I felt really went together well. And what has worked for me in learning how to do that is study artists you like, actually go in and color pick their colors and see what they're doing. If you can talk to them, ask questions.
For sure.
And study life. Find photos you really like and look at how colors interact in the real world. Because what you see with your eye is not necessarily what your brain is telling you about color. Everything is relative and everything works in conjunction with everything around it. So really don't believe what your eyes tell you up front, because if you do, you'll get something that is very simplified and shallow. Yeah, I think those would be my main things, because that kind of approach will let you learn whatever kind of coloring you want to do. And Reggie is actually a dedicated colorist. He might be a good one to ask about this too.
That was pretty much it, though, because like all my coloring changed from kind of like just sort of looking at like Matt Herm's kind of coloring style, Steve Downer from the old Archie comics, when I was like a huge fan, and then I took some university classes and the color theory classes and just painting. That helped the most, for sure.
Yeah.
Seriously, just look at real things and take photos of stuff. And for drawing like people too, I take a lot of just Like I just put my camera on a thing, and then I just take pictures of myself doing poses, and then I just draw those.
All right.
Okay.
All right, guys, we're going to start wrapping this up now because we are at now 3:00. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. This has been very wonderful to be able to get everyone in. I wish I could get you all into Revolution itself when we have the physical. One day we'll have everybody.
We'll have a revolution.
Yes. Reggie's been there. Gigi's been there. One of these days I'm going to get Ian. I'm going to get John.
I would love to.
Yeah. Evan's been there like every single year.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Yes.
I started last year.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And coming up next, we're going to be doing another chance for a meet and greet with Lee Majdoub. All right.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
having
I
us.
really
This was really
appreciate
fun.
you
Thank
guys
you.
being here.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much,
having
guys.
Have a good one.
Thanks. Bye now.
Take care. Stay safe.
Doodles.
All right, give me just a second, guys. I'll get the next thing going because we got an interview with Sega Scourge coming up now. If you are